All right, last video, most of you probably will not have gotten to this, but the last video is dealing with any negative exponents. So I'm going to give you about 2 minutes. I'm going to have you pause the video for 2 minutes, just to say, and I want you to fill in the chart. Make sure these last 4 you write as a fraction. So I'm pausing my video now, and I want you to do the same. Okay, you should have gotten what I've got. I want you to take 30 seconds, talk with your partner. How are the top 4 related to the bottom 4? What do you notice about the top 4 and the bottom 4? You should have, hopefully you notice that the top 4 and bottom 4 have the same numbers. The only difference is the top numbers are whole numbers, but the bottom numbers just turn as a fraction. And we're going to come back to this, but remember the word reciprocal. These are reciprocals. And we're going to come back to that because this negative exponent doesn't keep your answer negative, it changes your answer and it makes it a fraction. All right, before we move on to the rule, I want you to think about a problem that you've done already similarly. So on this problem, if you were to work this problem out, you would divide your 20 by 5 and get 4, because remember you divide your coefficients, then you would have subtracted the exponents. If you didn't pay attention that there's more m's on bottom than on top, and you did straight up subtraction and you did 4 minus 9, you would get 4 to the negative, m to the negative 5th power, because 4 minus 9 is negative 5. And then if you do n to the 5th minus 2, you'd get 3. So that answer is correct, but you are not allowed to have negative exponents. So remember, when we did it the other way, we got 4, and then we said there was more m's on bottom, so the m's are no longer on top, but they are on the bottom, and there's 5 of them on the bottom, and then there was 3 left on top when we worked it out. This was back on your back of your pink sheet. I messed up there. So if you look to see how this problem is related to this problem, they are the same thing, but this negative exponent, instead of being on top of the fraction, would move to the bottom of the fraction, and that's what we're going to be talking about today with negative exponents. You cannot have a negative exponent. So if you ever get an answer with a negative exponent, you cannot have a negative exponent. The negative exponent means it has to move and it changes to positive. So we're going to do 3 different types of examples. This first row has negative exponents in the problem. They're all on the top, per se. If they're like fractions, remember if you made a fraction, these would all have 1 as your denominator. This row has negative exponents all on the bottom. And then this last one has mixed together. You have exponents on the top and negative exponents on the bottom. Okay, so looking at this example, if this would have been my answer, I would not be able to leave it like that. The 4 and the end of the 3rd power stays the same. It stays on top. And then what I want you to do is anytime you see a negative exponent, you're going to circle the base and the negative exponent, and that tells yourself it's going to move. So you would take this problem, you would rewrite what's not circled. So I'm going to rewrite 4 and n to the 3rd. And then if it's on top, it's going to move to the bottom. So m is going to move to the bottom, and instead of being a negative 5, it turns to a positive 5. And I get the same answer. So let's think about that when we do the next couple examples. So if the negative exponent is in the numerator, remember numerator is the top, it changes to positive, moves to the denominator. So on this one, the whole thing has a negative exponent, so I'm circling the whole thing. If there would be nothing left on top, we don't put 0, we put a 1, because there would be nothing else that's not circled, because remember there would be a 1 in front. And then that's going to move to the bottom. And it's going to, they both have, the exponent would be now a positive 1, so we just leave it like that. You can keep the 1 out front if you want to, but you don't need to. That 1 kind of, remember, is just holding space. All right, the next one. Only the only the a has the negative exponent. So I'm going to circle the negative exponent. And then I'm going to rewrite anything that's not circled exactly where you see it. So the 5, I'm not going to write the 1 down because that's like an imaginary 1. And then this a to the second power moves to the bottom, and it becomes a to the positive 2 power. And nothing can be simplified, so I'm done. All right, on the next example, I just want you to circle the base of the negative exponent and its exponent only. All right, hopefully you circled just the y. This negative 5 is not an exponent. So you circled the negative, this part. Now I'm going to give you a second to rewrite everything that you see with that's not circled. You should have written negative 5x squared, and then that's going to move, and it's moving to the bottom. Y to the 5th. Nothing can be simplified because these are x's, these are y's, and you are done. Okay, on the last example in this row, go ahead and circle anything that has a negative exponent. All right, you should have circled the x. All right, so I'm going to rewrite everything I see. There's y is on top, then there's x, y to the 4th on bottom. Now I'm taking what I circled and it's on top, so now I have to move it to the bottom. So that's going to move to the bottom and it becomes x to the 3rd. But now there's some simplifying that I need to do because there's x's and y's. So since there's y's here and y's here, it would be y to the 1st, y to the 4th. I would do, there's more y's on bottom, so it would be y to the 3rd because 4 minus 1 is 3. And then x times x to the 3rd is x to the 4th. And since there's nothing left on top, we have to put a 1. And it's done and simplified. All right, I want you to turn over to the back, and I want you to try this first column right here. So try these 5 problems. Go ahead and pause the video and you take the time that you need to do that. Alright, since the whole thing is circled, I need to draw my fraction bar. This moves to the bottom and then 1 is on top. The next one, you should only circle the x to the 3rd. 4 is rewritten. X to the 3rd moves to the bottom. The only thing that you should have simplified here, circled here, is y to the negative 5th. So when you rewrite the negative 2x to the 3rd, and then this moves to the bottom and turns positive, nothing can be simplified. This last one, this is the only thing that has a negative exponent, so your x, y stays on top, you write it, and then this moves to the bottom. But since it's only numbers, you're going to simplify that. 2 to the 3rd power, you can punch in your calculator, you should have gotten 8. Alright, the last one, the whole thing is circled, so everything moves to the bottom. So we're going to have to simplify that one. Oops. This is 4 times. So x times x times x times x is x to the 4th. Y to the 2nd times 2nd times 2nd times 2nd is y to the 8th. Okay, flip back over to the front. Let's talk about when the negative exponent's on the bottom. So same thing as we did on the other ones. You're going to circle only the negative exponent. Rewrite what you have there. If it's on the bottom, it's going to move to the top. A and b to the 4th stays there, but then this one moves to the top. Now we need to simplify it. Since there's nothing on the bottom, you don't have to write your numerator or denominator. So a times a is a to the 2nd, and then b to the 4th would be your simplified answer. Okay, go ahead and try the next one. Okay, you should have circled c to the 3rd power. 5b to the 4th gets rewritten, and this is going to move up top. so it's just off to the side. Can anything be simplified? I look and see. There's only b's and c's in a 5. No, nothing's simplified, so that's my final answer. All right, on the last one, go ahead and circle the negative exponent and give it a try. I'm going to ask you to push pause and go ahead and take the time to do that one. All right, you should have circled y to the 4th, rewrite x to the 3rd, y to the 5th, and then x is on bottom. Now this one moves to the top, y to the 4th. Now we have some simplifying to do. This simplifies x to the 3rd minus x to the 1st would be x to the 2nd. There's more x's on top, so it stays on top. And then y to the 5th times y to the 4th is y to the 9th, and there's nothing left on bottom. All right, the very last example, you have negative exponents on top and negative exponents on bottom. So you're going to have to circle both of them. So like we did before, you're going to rewrite everything where it is. The x to the negative 2nd is on top. Now it's going to move to the bottom, turn to positive. The y to the negative 5th is on bottom. It's going to move to the top and turn positive. Now you need to simplify. Remember, 5 divided by 10, you divide the coefficients, and then you should get 0.5, which needs to go back to a fraction, so it's 1/2. Y to the 2nd times y to the 5th is y to the 7th. X times x to the 2nd is x to the 3rd. There's nothing else to simplify. Okay, you should be able to finish the last 3 examples, get them checked, and then there's another green half sheet. But you also, for the green half sheet, you have to remember your 0 power exponent, which is on the back of one of your pink papers. So remember, x to the 0 power would equal 1. Anything to the 0 power is 1. If I had 2 times a to the 2nd, b to the 0, this is the only thing that turns to 1, so you'd be left with 2a to the 2nd.